there's Canadians.
Could this be the fastest selling?
Is it what?
Could this be the fastest selling that you have in the UFC history?
Yeah, I mean, one of them is Montreal. So yeah, this could be too. And the other one was Australia. This guy's asking for a question. What was your question?
Is that with the Canadian thing? Has it always been that way since you've been involved, or has that happened at a certain point?
You know, it started out, and then it just out of nowhere, it just took off.
You can.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. Just took off.
Was it because of GSP or just because of the sport itself?
It was before GSP got huge. Yeah, it was before GSP got huge. It's just Canadians love this.
What's the record gate, Dan? 5 in terms of money.
This will be the biggest. This will be.
What is it now? It's 5.5.
Yeah. It's about 5.5.
That was in Vegas, right? I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. It was in Vegas and was 5.5. You're right.
23,000 Bell Center. Is that it? That's the most that you've seated for a fight?
It was a little over 23,000 the last fight up in Montreal.
But you have to say to the guys in Montreal.
What's that?
The fans in Montreal.
Oh, the fans in Canada. I don't bust up Montreal and everything else like you guys do.
It's all right.
It's all Canada, man.
Yeah, I come from there, so.
Let me tell you what, Canadian, because even when we're in Montreal, it's fans from Ontario, it's fans from Vancouver, it's fans from, all over the country. Fans come to Montreal when we do the event. That's why I'm saying the experience too up in Montreal. It's just so cool the way that everybody's out in the streets and all those restaurants that are out there and everybody's hanging out. It's all these UFC fans. Wait till we come into Toronto. You think about up there, we got 23,000 seats that we can sell. Here we're going to have 42 plus, and all these people are going to, and it's not just going to be Canadians, it's going to be people from all over the world coming in for this event, especially because this one's so historic because there's been this whole battle to get into Toronto. So it's going to be big. Believe me, the city of Toronto is going to be very pumped that this event was able to take place.
Why do you think that battle was so long and protracted?
Because you're going to have these guys that don't get it, and even when you try to educate them, they're on the fence. I call a lot of these guys the old regime, and it's happening to us in New York right now, and eventually it's all going to fall. It's all going to go away. This thing. People always, you get these guys that are nervous. Oh my God, this Ultimate Fighting event's going to be here. Have you ever been to a Red Sox-Yankee game?
Yeah.
You want to talk about craziness and violence, and it's just insane. You get these little kids sitting there with their baseball gloves, and these guys screaming horrible things at the other player. You don't see any of that at a UFC event. Even though there's going to be people here that want Georges St. Pierre and don't like Jake Shields, there's never this feeling of hatred and violence or anything like that. It's people cheering on their fighter. And when people are out in the streets walking around, there's people eating in restaurants, going to clubs, going to the malls and spending money. It's a positive, good feeling, and it's everybody up here just to have a good time.
That said, the roots of the sport were much more violent. Explain how the sport has changed to become more mainstream.
The roots of the sport meaning what?
Well, UFC when it originally started.
Yeah, but
much different.
The reality is with the UFC, that's where a lot of the misconceptions come from. It was the marketing of the UFC. It was never the athletes or the guys who participated in it. Even back in the crazy days, you had guys that only knew one style. These guys were martial artists. These guys weren't out there, to hurt anybody or these killers or whatever. 2 men enter the cage, 1 man leaves. It was all the marketing of a show that they thought was only going to be one show. That's really what it was. That's the stigma that got attached to this thing.
Have you never worried about becoming more mainstream? Have you ever worried about the critics in that respect, or are you worried about that?
I could care less. Listen, when I grew up, there was Channel 3, Channel 5, Channel 8, and Channel 13. There's a zillion channels now. If you don't like this, change the channel. Watch something else. I don't like golf. So when golf's on, I change the channel.
What about hockey?
Hockey? I'm not a big hockey fan, but I don't hate hockey like I hate golf. But
are you still finding you do have to educate people though? Everywhere you go, not just politicians, because we know sanctioning MMA has been a challenge for you, and you continue to expand. But from the fans, from the media perspective, we heard a couple questions even today where you're saying, well, look, people that are saying that this is less safe than football and hockey and that sort of thing don't really know their.
Well, it's one of those things. It's because it's what you're comfortable with. It's what you grew up in Canada. Everybody grew up with hockey. Your dad's dad was playing hockey, and you guys, it's it's so much a part of your life. When a crazy fight breaks out and a guy's tooth is sliding across the ice and all this stuff, you guys are like, yeah, this is the greatest game ever. You know, and people from other cultures saw it and go, oh my God, these guys are punching with no gloves and the guy's tooth fell out and the other guy only has 2 teeth to start with, you know what I mean? To other people, that's crazy. But to you guys, you grew up with that. With the UFC now, we now have been around for 10 years. So there's a generation that just grew up with the UFC. 10 years from now, they're going to be looking back with, yeah, I grew up watching the UFC. It's whatever you're used to. And the reality is we're sanctioned by the athletic commissions. These guys are medically tested like crazy. I mean, these guys are 100% healthy. There's never been a death or serious injury in the history of the UFC. Serious injury meaning changing the quality of your life, you know? You're going to have some broken hands, some cuts, things like that, but this sport is absolutely safe.
How close is New York?
Now, let me tell you what, I'm done predicting on New York. I thought we were really close for this run here, but whatever. I honestly, you know, people always ask me, does it drive you crazy? Do you get mad? No, it's going to happen. It's inevitable. I said before, the old regime, all these guys are going to go away, and this sport isn't going anywhere. It's only getting bigger. It's only getting more popular, and once the old regime is gone, the mixed martial arts will be everywhere.
How much of this fight will be sending a message to New York? Crowd size?
I'm not. You know what I want to send a message to with this fight? To Ontario. You know, you guys were scared of this. You were worried about this. When we roll out of town, this entire city is going to go, when are they coming back? Believe me.
When are you coming back?
Good question. You know, if George St. Pierre should win this fight and we do this super fight, there's really only a few places we could hold this fight because it's going to be so big. Dallas, Texas Stadium, Las Vegas, here.
And Soren said,
fight night?
Sorry.
What's that?
What about fight nights, maybe even like smaller areas?
Oh, listen, I said it at the end of the thing, and any of you that have dealt with me before, no, I don't kiss anybody's ass, but I love Canada, man. I love it up here. I love the people. I love the media. It's just every city that you come to in Canada is beautiful. It's clean. It's cool. There's tons of things to do. I would hold a fight up here every weekend if we could.
Dana. Great venue in London, Ontario, John Labatt Center.
I'm telling you, we're going to go everywhere, man.
Yeah.
We're going everywhere.
Awesome.
If you couldn't get GSP for this card, would you still have done it in the Skydome, or would you have went to a smaller venue?
No, we would have done it. I told you in the press conference, people want to see, you know, the guys who are the top stars in the UFC come and fight. It doesn't matter who it is or whatever. You know, it doesn't hurt when you got GSP in Canada, but, you know, people want to see guys, all the other guys too.
So what do you think about all the Canadians on the UFC 129 card? What if they all win?
That'd be huge. I mean, it'd be a huge night for Canada. And I'm sure, you know, that's what everybody's going to be pulling for. This is one of those things. And when we try to, people over in the UK are always bitching about, oh, every time you come over here, you got 5 guys from the UK on. You know, they actually complain about it because they want to see the guys that they never get to see fight in the States. But you have to understand, when we come into a place like Toronto, it's some of these guys' dream. This is their dream, that they're going to fight in this arena in front of all their countrymen. And it's just, this is the stuff that guys, when they start training and they lay in bed, they dream about stuff like this. You have to give it to the guys.
Dana, about a year ago, you were against the idea of a GSP versus Silva fight. What made you change your mind? The Chael Sonnen fight?
Yeah. No, what happened was, what I thought I would like to see was, once he cleaned out that 85-pound division, move up to 205 pounds. And he said he won't do it. He will not move up to 205. He wants to stay at 85 and finish his career there. And George St. Pierre has wiped out this division if he beats Jake Shields in this fight. And at the end of the day, listen, I'm just a middleman. My job is to give the fans the fights that they want to see. And they want to see this fight, and really what this fight ends up becoming is the pound-for-pound championship.
Do you want to do a warm-up fight before for GSP at 185 before that one? Or?
Nope. Move right in and fight for the title.
Ed Soares said he has no interest, neither does Anderson Silva, in coming to Toronto. That having been said, have you completely wiped Toronto, the idea of Toronto?
I love you, Ed, but what you're interested in and what's going to happen are 2 different things. Yeah. There's only so many places that we can hold this fight, you know, and we're gonna send this fight to the best place, you know, to hold it.
I mean, and it could go the other way. If you're in GSP's camp, I'm sure they don't want this being held in Brazil, right?
Yeah, well, I don't think we'll see this fight in Brazil, but it'll either be Las Vegas, Dallas, Texas Stadium, here, or some other venue that'll hold a lot of people that I'm not thinking about right now.
Hawaii.
Huh?
Hawaii.
Nah, not Hawaii either. No.
Yeah. What is Yushinokami for you guys?
Yeah, Yushinokami. I have more answers on that than I did Saturday night. You know, we've got some interesting things going on right now. And understand, we're sitting here talking about GSP Anderson Silva. This is still a fantasy fight. He's got to beat this guy first. And you know, I got Landsberg back there telling me 6-1 and this, that, and all this stuff. This guy is stealth. He's flown under the radar forever. Everybody, there isn't a guy on this planet that knows anything about mixed martial arts that thought Jake Shields was going to beat Dan Henderson. Everybody thought he was going to lose. You know, I guarantee you, even the guys in his corner were going, oh man, this is going to suck for Jake. He's going to lose this fight. And he went out there and won. You cannot count this kid out. And you know, when you talk about the position, he's been in this position his whole career, where he's walking into a thing where everybody's just ready for him to lose. The most important thing is there's one guy that doesn't underestimate him, and that's GSP. GSP knows how tough this kid is and what can happen. So, all that said, we got to get through this fight first. And what was the question you asked me about?
Where's Yushin Okami finished?
Yushin Okami. Yushin Okami is next in line at 185. If George St. Pierre doesn't win, he's fighting for the title.
Who are you pulling for in this fight?
In what fight?
Where Jake Shields and George St.
Listen,
Pierre.
whoever wins, wins, man. At the end of the day, you know, I'm like I said, I'm the middleman. The fans, we give the fans the fights they want to see. We'll see if George can beat Jake. If so, then the fans want to see the mega fight with these two. Then we do that one. If not, it's Yushin Okami, and it's, you know, it just keeps right on rolling for me, man.
What do you predict the fight's gonna end? How do you think it's gonna?
It's a tough one. I think that this is a dangerous fight for George because one of the things that George St. Pierre does is he chews wrestlers up and spits them out. Jake Shields is a really good wrestler. He out-wrestled Dan Henderson, took Dan Henderson down at will, and then got that top position and held him there. The other thing that this kid's great at is jiu-jitsu. He's great at submitting guys. You know, George St. Pierre hasn't been standing up a lot in his fights lately. He did in this fight with Koscheck. Through some good jabs. It's going to be an interesting wrestling match because, you know, Jake Shields might go out there and double leg GSP and take him down, and it's going to be a crazy night if that happens.
Where's the featherweight division go from here?
After this fight, I have no idea off the top of my head.
There's rumors that there's Kid Yamamoto in the UFC.
He just fought Saturday.
Now,
didn't go well.
How come the Japanese fighters don't do so well when they cross over? I mean, they're amazing in Japan. They have these huge venues.
Yeah.
They come over to UFC.
You really want me to get going on that one?
Yeah.
People, all these hardcore nerds over here in the United States build these Japanese guys up to be these, you know, oh, this guy came over, they beat all these guys, and every time they come over, and then the excuse is, oh, it was too late, it was too this, it was too that. But I'm a big Kid Yamamoto fan too, and Kid got absolutely dominated on Saturday night.
When you were first looking at this venue, the Rogers Center, were you looking at 60,000 and you scaled back, or how did that work?
No, we scaled it. First of all, we didn't want to go too big. I was totally nervous about doing this thing and making this thing a great experience for the fans, which means more to me than anything, more than the gate and the money and all that stuff. One of the things that we've done is we've kept all the venues, you know, right around the same size. The biggest we did was up in Montreal, but it worked out well up there. And, you know, we put together, I'm really excited about this, and this is the first time, today is the first day that I've actually seen the venue live with my own eyes. Everything's been on paper or on a 3D model and things like that. It's the first time I've ever seen it. So I liked it on paper. I love it even more being here now, knowing what we're going to do here.
Well, we know about the video screens, but what else are you going to do to make it homey?
I don't want to say it. I want people to come in that night and see what we did and experience it without me kind of telling them what's going to happen. It's kind of a surprise.
You also talk about blowing out of here and people are going to be wanting more. Why? What's going to be going on that week?
Oh, well, we put on this fan expo, and people roll into town from, like I said, all over the world for these fan expos. And, you know, our demographic are the kind of people who come in, they spend the weekend, they go to restaurants, they go to the malls, they go around. Everywhere you go that weekend, no matter where you go in this city, you're going to see a Tap Out, a UFC, you know, you name the company, you're going to see their T-shirts here with people just walking around and having a good time. And like I said about our fans, this isn't some rowdy group of people that are rolling into. It's not like, you know, I know a lot of people think like Hell's Angels is rolling into town when the UFC comes to town. Furthest thing from the truth. And you know, whatever their you know, ideas might be or who they think the UFC fan is, we're going to totally blow it out of the water when we come in here, and they're going to be begging for the UFC to come back.
Will the seating involve any temporary seats, and will they have been expected on time?
No, there won't be any temporary seats.
Okay, so no problem.
No, we won't be kicking people out of their seats when they get here.
What is it about George's popularity, Dana, outside of what he's accomplished in the ring? What are some of the factors about how he is?
You know, there's just these guys in any sport that have what I call the it factor. You can't really put your finger on it. You don't know, yeah, he's a great fighter and he's this and he's that. But, you know, people are just attracted to this guy. They love him. And like I said here today, and I keep saying it, you guys in Canada don't realize how big this guy is all over the world. It doesn't matter where we go or who it is. People from other countries will cheer for George St. Pierre over guys from their country, even America. I mean, it's just, people love him. I can't tell you exactly what it is. I mean, first of all, what I think about the guy, number one, he's a great representative for his country. He's a great representative for the UFC belt. He's an incredible athlete. He's well-spoken. He's a super nice guy. He's respectful to everybody. You know, those are all the great qualities that he does have, but he's just got that it factor, and people like it.
Speaking of the it factor, Chael Sonnen's hearing is in March, and it's expected that he's not going to get any jail time. It's just probation. That happens. When can we expect him back in the UFC?
Yeah, well, I wanted him to get his life in order. You know, get all his personal problems taken care of, and then we'll talk about his career. You know, I didn't cut him. We put him on suspension. We'll see what happens.
Guys, sorry, 3 more questions because he has a live interview soon.
With Bones fighting Shogun now, where does that leave Rashad kind of in the mix, assuming if Bones wins? Because I know he said today he won't fight him, because I know they train together and stuff like that. Where does that kind of put him? I know he has a serious injury.
Well, this is one of those things. I don't know if you guys follow it or know, but when he said that he was going to sit out and wait for Shogun, I said, you're insane. I mean,
over a year.
You're going to sit. This guy's injured and has to sit out. You know, has to overcome all these things, rust and all this other stuff to come back. And you're going to just sit out. That if you truly believe that you're the best in the world, you should be ready to fight in, because whoever you fight on the way up are guys, if you win the title, these are the guys that are coming at you anyway. You might as well stay active. You might as well make money and stay active. Fighters have a very small window of opportunity, and this kid's just letting the window close. And now it's in this situation where, well, this guy's my friend and that guy's my friend. Dude, you have way too many friends. You need to keep the friends thing down. Stop training with people. No matter where this. Now he's talking about, maybe I'll go to heavyweight, maybe I'll go to middleweight, maybe I'll do this. Well, if he goes to middleweight, Nate Marquardt's one of the top middleweights in the world. One of his friends. Shane Carwin's one of the best heavyweights in the world. Oh, that's one of his friends. You know, he's got too many friends.
Did you offer him a fight in the interim? I mean, in between the injuries?
Yeah, well, his injury is going to keep him about 8 weeks. So we'll see what happens when he's done.
What's the middleweight? How far is he?
Rashad? You know, Rashad at middleweight, you know, 1 or 2 fights away.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe, you know, if you did an Okami, Rashad Evans fight, the winner fights Anderson Silva or George St. Pierre.
Yeah. Dana, what kind of title implications?
Oh, but he won't fight George St. Pierre because they're friends.
What kind of title implications does the Couture and Machida fight have?
What's that?
What kind of title implications does the Couture and Machida fight have?
I don't know. You know, Couture's won a couple in a row. Beating Machida would be huge for Couture, you know. And Couture's one of those guys. When he was 37, I was like, yeah, he's looking at probably retiring here. The guy's almost 57 now, and he's still beating people. I can't count that guy out. Who knows? If he wins, it'd be huge, and he's always in the mix.
If Machida lost, would you cut him?
I don't know, man. It's a possibility. It'd be 3 in a row.
Yeah. Last question, guys. Sorry.
You've seen crazy growth here, and we've been here for every press conference from the very beginning. And it started media-wise with 10 people, 15 people, 30 people, and then a full room like this. Like, what do you say to the media that's here today?
Oh, it's awesome. I say it. I just said it when I started this little thing here. I love the media up here, man. You guys are awesome. I love the way you carry yourselves, and you're always great and gracious, and I really appreciate it.
Just to follow up on that, then, what do you say to the sort of the media that's just come along board now? Do you feel a responsibility to sort of teach them sort of the ins and outs of the sport? Like, I look at the press kit, and there's, you know, the rules are in here and things like that, and I look at it and I go, yeah, okay, of course, but then, you know, you got so many new people, new faces. Do you feel a responsibility to teach them?
Yeah. Well, you got to have stuff like this for the people that don't understand the rules and don't understand the sport and the history of the sport and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. We have to educate them, and you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people, even in this room here today, it didn't come out that much, but people are like, I don't know about this sport and don't like it, but the fact that they came out with an open mind and that they're even here to cover it. Because trust me, I've been in this thing for 10 years. My first ever press conference, there were 2 guys there. One guy was an MMA website, and the other guys were Hispanic. Because Tito was there. When they found out Tito didn't speak Spanish, they got left. There was 1 guy left. That was my first ever press conference.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the growth.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.